good morning, everyone. My name is Chris-Beth Gowie. I'm the founder of EmpoweredVex and the host of Bizgrams. It is a privilege and pleasure every morning to come to you at 11:30 to share some helpful tips and insights from epic entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things on their journey. And today we have the privilege of having Osei Cohen with us, and she is the author of the upcoming book, The Vulnerability of a Naked Property, and currently the principal at 12 Gate Property Services, a property management company and social enterprise that protects properties as they sit vacant, minimizing financial loss by providing cost-efficient maintenance. Osei, it is a privilege to have you here with us this morning. Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
I am great. And thank you so much for having me here, Chris-Beth. This is awesome.
Thank you. I would just share a quick insight about how I got to know Osei. She's been attending events that we've had here at EmpoweredVex for a little bit, and most recently is part of our business accelerator, which, Osei, how has that experience been for you so far?
It's been a really good experience because it's been pointing out different things that I never considered. So we're going deep. We get, I guess, psychological behind why we are in business and what we're doing, and really discovering our big why. And yeah, I'd never, I mean, I've created many business plans over the years for myself and for others, but this is the first time that I'm really, I don't know, digging deeper than I had in the past. So this is great.
Hey, thank you so much for that feedback. And you talked about discovering your why. So I like to ask entrepreneurs on the show, why is it you do what you do?
Hmm. That's the $1 million question. You know, like why I got involved in property services initially, it was really out of I could do better. Like I saw something, I had an experience, I wasn't happy with my experience, and then I thought, but I could do better. And so, you know, not having enough knowledge at the time, I started to study, I started to grow, I started to learn. And then I'm saying now with my business, I can do better. So
Hey,
that's my
that's
why.
an awesome why. And honestly, sometimes our why comes from different places, right? So you talk about having that experience and saying, you know what, I can do better, and stepping into that truth, believing in self and moving in that direction. That is awesome. So tell us a little bit about what 12 Gates Property Services is all about. What is it that you do?
Okay, well, at 12 Gates Property Services, we provide real estate asset management services. So we protect properties and we restore the integrity of residential properties while they sit vacant. So not to be confused with typical property management where it's tenant services and whatnot. That I also do, but this is more geared towards protecting assets, working for mortgage lenders and private insurance companies, private lenders and whatnot, those that are dealing with properties that are going through a legal process.
Okay, awesome. And I think that's very clear. So if you have those that are looking, if you know someone that is a lending company, a banker that is tasked with managing properties, or say would be an awesome asset to their team in ensuring that their assets are protected. That's so cool. Thank you so much. And so what on your entrepreneurial journey thus far, what got you started in the first place? You know, why entrepreneurship?
Again, that was my big why. So it was actually, I started as a real estate investor in my early 20s. And this is like with no experience, no, you know, no experience and no studies at the time. This is basically me sitting behind in front of the TV and watching infomercials late at night, and then those guys coming on saying, "Oh yeah, you could buy property with no money down and all that." And I thought, "Oh, that's wonderful. I want to be a real estate investor." So this is many years ago. Not to age myself, but it was a while ago, and I I ended up going to like many different weekends, courses, like 3-day weekends and whatnot, and they were all American um, programs at the time. But I got involved. Got right in there. I was young. I had money. I was ready to invest. And that's how I was learning all the tricks of the trades. And I got out there and I started doing some creative deals. And along the way, I got myself into trouble. So there was I think it was my third property. I got a property that was that I had used for student housing. So I did the numbers and I'm like, yeah, this is great. I got the house. And so, I was able to put the deal together without the problem, got the mortgage, all that good stuff. But what I didn't know was how to manage tenants properly. So I had, it was a 5-bedroom house and it was giving me positive cash flow. I rented 4 out of the 5. I was keeping 1 empty. I was basically using it for myself, for storage, I just had it empty. And there was so I had students in there. They were doing great. They were paying their rent. Everything was fine. And then I got a call from a guy. It was right before Christmas. I never forget this. Because of student housing, I put ads up for rentals like in the summer or end of summer. But this guy called me based on an old posting. He called me right before Christmas and he said, do you still have student house rooms available, whatever. And I'm like, well, not really. But then I said, yeah, because I had that one room. And then this is my greed, I guess. I thought, well, you know what? I'll rent the whole place out, rent this one out, get extra income. This is good. But that was my mistake because the guy that came in, he was a young guy, but he wasn't really a student. I screened him, but I didn't screen him properly because I didn't have enough time. Like he gave me his reference letters, all the contacts and whatnot. And I called a couple of them, but because it was Christmas, I'm not getting a hold of anybody, right? And so what I learned from this is that he actually was scamming me. He did it intentionally, giving me the sob story that, he doesn't have anywhere to live and he needs, so, and knowing that I can't screen properly. And I just said, okay, fine. He gave me the money. He moved in over the holidays. And then that's when everything started to go down. So my greed actually caused him to come in. He was a disruption to the whole house. All the students that were studying, they were focused. He was, that's when I learned he really wasn't a student. He told me he was going to Centennial. He wasn't. It turned out, long story short, over time, the other students started leaving. They said, no, I'm going to move somewhere else. I can't stand this guy. And I didn't really know what was going on. And then eventually I got a letter from a neighbor right next door. And they said, I think some of your students there are running a prostitution ring. I'm like, what? So now he's been paying his rent on time, but how do I deal with, evicting him? And how do I prove that? So long story short, the other guys left. I had to carry the extra, missing rents. And I ended up getting into a car accident. I went on disability. I wasn't able to keep up my payments. And the same guy is still there and one other tenant, but it wasn't enough to cover. And I ended up going into power of sale myself. And I was devastated because it's like, this didn't have to happen. But it became beyond my control. And, long story short, it was devastating for me. And then the process of the power of sale, and this is when I realized I could do better, was the property management company that came to deal with me. They treated me like crap. They came at the wrong time. They came too early and I wasn't finished packing up. I wasn't finished, getting stuff together. And they were ready to change the locks. They were ready to, and they were just treating me like crap. And I'm already feeling like crap. So basically I ended up, they did their thing and I knew that they're there to do their job and I wasn't going to dispute that. But just the way they handled the situation, I knew I could do better. So this is many years ago, but it always stuck with me, and it became part of my what the reason why I got into this business. And then I also studied, I went to school. Now I started realizing how that situation was handled was actually wrong, and I could have taken legal recourse if I had known. But because what ended up happening is they sold my property. It was in good condition, but they didn't even try to sell it at fair market value. I got, it ended up being way below market value, sold to like investors that came in to grab a deal. And I got the short end of it. So I ended up living with that default, that shortfall for many, many years. So now the situation is we're dealing with COVID. People are losing their jobs and their ability to actually keep up with their payments. And if property management companies are coming in and treating them the way they treated me, and considering I didn't have a bond to the house, I had a bond to the process, but not to the house. A lot of these people, their families were raised, they're dealing with emotional, physical, all sorts of trauma for what's going on with this pandemic. And they need a manager that understands that. I mean, the process is inevitable, but it needs to come with some kind of compassion. So that's what I want to bring. I want to bring the service to mortgage lenders, provide them with the accuracy and the speed and everything that they need, and at the same time be compassionate with the homeowner and take them through the process more comfortably with TLC.
Yeah. Hey, Ose, I want to say thank you so much for sharing. And your story is powerful. And I wouldn't say it was greed per se. I think the word that rang in my head as you were telling the story was due diligence. It is so important, even
Yes.
as you're in the early stages of your business. As you said, you had momentum. This was your third property, and you're moving in that way. And when you miss due diligence, sometimes you start falling into those pitfalls, right? And I mean,
Yes.
the lesson that you learn, I can only imagine, very trying on your physical, mental state at that point in time. And we'll talk a little bit about that because oftentimes entrepreneurs find themselves going through this journey and dealing with a lot of setbacks, things that weigh on their minds and their hearts. And it's not just an emotional, it's physical. And how to navigate that. But honestly, what you shared, I like, I was feeling for you. I was like, oh no, this gets worse. This is not cool. And it would be interesting. I mean, I'm curious. Are you writing about this in your book that's coming out? The vulnerability of a naked property?
Actually, it's more about the ways to protect the property. So it's not that emotional, but you know what? I still have 2 more chapters to write. So yeah, I will include my journey because
Hey, get your
it's
why
like,
in there, right? Like
yes, you're
that
right.
like that is so important. And because I think once you're able to share a story that's so impactful, people can,
Mhm.
you shared about the distress of the other students in the house, forcing them to
Mhm.
leave, impacting you, and really making that connection. But then, saying the process that you went through was inevitable, but the way that it was done could have led with more heart and empathy,
Yes.
a little TLC,
Mhm.
to make it better for folks. So share with us a little bit about, how did you cope with that mental, physical challenges and barriers as you face them on your journey?
Yeah. Well, the other side of it is because I was in a car accident, so I had spinal injury to my neck, in my neck. And so I was dealing with therapy. I was dealing with all these physical things during the whole process. So it was not a good, it was not a good time at all for me. It was very a solemn time. Yeah, spiritually, financially, physically. And then it's like, I think I became kind of numb to the process because I'm like, okay, whatever, just take the house, you know. Um, I wasn't trying to fight it, and but honestly though, I wasn't down for too long. It's because I had more questions about the process and even the mortgage process. So at that time, I was, I took out that was like my third mortgage. So I knew the mortgage process from, being a mortgagee or mortgagor, but not the underwriting part. So what I ended up doing is going to school. I went back to school to Seneca College, and I studied mortgage underwriting. And I became a mortgage agent, a mortgage specialist. And I was working with two mortgage brokers for a few years, like 5 years. And so now I started to understand the other side of it. And that's where I realized how my deal was handled was incorrect. But neither here nor there. I also realized, okay, I didn't know how to manage the tenants properly. So I took a property management course, and I ended up learning, how and the whole ins and outs. So I ended up getting a certificate for property management. And then I knew my financial situation was a mess. So I knew I couldn't purchase any more properties in my name directly. So I ended up getting involved in lease options with a gentleman in Ajax, and we were putting lease option deals together for many houses, like over 27 houses within a short period of time in the Durham and Scarborough area. So I'm still investing, but it's not my money, it's other people's money. So I was using the strategies that I was learning along the way, and I was having fun with it. And then I was also using my property management skills, because those houses that we were putting up for lease option, I had to manage the tenants or the tenant buyers through the process until they ended up buying the house. So I ended up all the things that I didn't know before. I studied, I learned, and then I applied. So I grew from my my downfall. And then a few years ago, I ended up I got married, I had children and all that, and I was home, and I'm like, I need to study some more. So I went back to Seneca College, and this time I took the Real Property Administration program. Oh, which was a program that kicked my butt. It was a really challenging program, but an awesome one. And again, I got to see a different perspective of real estate from an assessment point of view, the property valuing, and you name it, things that I wouldn't have learned from any real estate program, like investment program. So I got to see all angles, basically. And that's basically because of my ignorance. I had to turn it into something that will help benefit me and in my knowledge and moving forward with more power and more understanding. So.
Hey, that is so powerful. And as you're talking about it, is like, I heard you invested in yourself, the knowledge. Okay, yes, I failed, I faltered, I made a mistake. Something happened that I perceived that was outside of my control. But what I got, you took responsibility. You said, I'm here today. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to be the best person with my subject matter expertise. And you mentioned going back to school and investing in yourself. I think that is so powerful. And so anyone that's looking and watching the show today, if you're looking for support or guidance around property management, investment properties, Ose is the person to have on your team as you're navigating that way. And so Ose, tell us a little bit. I think you talked a lot to us already about the power of sale. Do you want to add anything? What should people know?
Well, for starters, how to prevent going into power of sale, because the process, once it starts to happen, it happens really fast. So initially, if you're falling behind in your payments,
And this is for homeowners, right?
Yeah,
homeowners?
Yes. So I'll talk to both sides. First, for the homeowner's point of view, when you're having financial difficulties, the first thing you should do is really if you know you can't make the next payment, is contact your lender and make arrangements with them, because they're not trying to put your house into power of sale. They're not trying to be the bad guy by no means, but they do have the right to reclaim what they've lost. So the first thing, contact them, make some kind of arrangements. And then from there, if you know like the situation isn't getting better, money is not coming out of like thin air, then seek out a broker who can actually help maybe find a second mortgage for you, or do some kind of refinancing to put you in a better position. What you need to do is buy time. Once you're able to buy the time, so you don't get into the power of sale, then you're able to sell the property. Don't try to stay. If you can't afford it, you just need to get out. So the goal is to try to sell the property on your terms at fair market value. That's the goal. Now, if you're beyond that, if you've already, it's inevitable that you're going to be going through the power of sale process. It's just good to have an understanding as to what's happening, and you really can't fight it. You just have to go through the process, and don't become so attached to the house, I guess, that it ruins your health. You just have to learn to move on. From the lender's point of view, again, they do have the right from day 15, if the house has not, if the mortgage, the homeowner has not paid their mortgage within 15 days, they have the right to start the process. So to any property in a real estate investor in mortgages, it's to maybe be a little bit more compassionate, allow them the extra time just to get themselves together. And then once, it's inevitable, then start the process. But to do it in a way that it gives them dignity, and then, yes, we have to adhere to the timelines, because once the court the lawyers get involved in the court, there's a court process. It's usually a 37-day process, and things have to happen quick. But just, I guess, the speed has to still be there, but at the same time, dignity has to be maintained for the homeowner, because we're all going through challenges. We're all going through different times, a hard time at this time. So it's just to have that mutual respect.
Yes, and it's so powerful. COVID has impacted all of us, and you talked about some people having to lose their homes because of the lack of jobs and all of these things at this time. Know that, my heart goes out to those people. And at 12 Gate Property Services with OSE, they lead with heart, right? And so if you're a lender out there and one of your clients have defaulted, definitely consider working with someone who understands and could support that person on the receiving, that homeowner on this journey as well, while helping you to maintain your business reputation and brand as you're moving through this process as well. So I'll say that was so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing some insightful tips about yourself, your entrepreneurial journey. And so as an entrepreneur, what tips or advice would you share with other entrepreneurs on this journey?
Again, going back to the why, to really discover what it is and why you're in the business that you're in, and to go deep within yourself, and to bring your skills, your knowledge, your connections, whatever, all your resources that are around you, to use that in your business. Because I'm a big fan of entrepreneurship. Actually, my program is also a social enterprise. And where that is I'm encouraging contractors, independent contractors, to work for themselves. So a lot of contractors, they work for companies, or they don't understand how powerful it is to be an independent contractor. People in the trades, they go and they just work. They work for different general contractors, which is great. but they don't realize that they are independent contractors, and then they have more power than the contractor will allow them to know. So I work with people to discover that, like they learn that, oh, this is my business. So when they come to me for a job, I'm treating them like not as a worker. I'm treating them as they're a business owner. And so they have terms, I have terms. So we come together and we work on projects together. It's not like I'm the boss. No, we're all bosses for our own business. So yeah, I highly encourage people to recognize why they're doing what they're doing. And once you have that sense of ownership, then there's more pride in everything that you do. You don't so contractors don't just show up and start just doing half-assed jobs when they know that they're an entrepreneur. When they know that they're just a worker, they might not even show up. I've had that. They don't show up on time, or they show up with a lazy attitude, or whatever the case may be. But if they recognize that they are business owners and they need to present themselves to get the next job, to there's a difference. It's a shift. It's a slight shift. They're doing the same thing, but it's just a shift in their mentality. So
That's
I'm all for
powerful.
that.
And yeah, I like, the fact of, encouraging and instilling that entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurship as a whole, right? Them taking
Yes.
ownership of their business and growth. And so Ose, it has been a privilege having you here. My last question to you is phonetical. So what is something phonetical you do to express self-love? And I'll explain the word. So fun
Okay.
and epic adventures, great or small, that you do to express self-love.
I have fun with my children. Um, Recently, we turned my older daughter's bedroom into a playroom, and it's now basically become a Hot Wheel room for my 5-year-old. So lots of times I like to just sit down there with him and we build tracks, and we just make these little cars just spin through the tracks, and we just have fun. And also we like to play Just Dance on on Xbox. So just, I'm not a dancer, but watching them, you just go crazy and you just let all the everything go, because it's just you and the TV screen. So yeah, we just have fun like that.
Hey, that is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And so also, if people are interested in getting in contact with you, how do they do that?
Well, I have a few websites, but you can contact me at oseicohen.com. That's the easiest way. So OSEYE Cohen, COHEN.com.
Awesome. And are you on social media as well?
Yes, I'm on everything. But once you go to oseicohen.com, you'll see my social handles and just connect with me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. From our team to your team, lots of love. And, this has been a learning experience for me, as I've always wanted to be a real estate investor. I'm heading in that direction. Momentum's building. So really excited about that. And to your point, I got due diligence, understand it, what you're fully getting into.
Yes.
And same, if you're setting up a business, count the cost. What is it going to cost for you to build that business? And here at Empowered Flex, we say, start small, start testing and validating the ideas before you go spend thousands of dollars on something that nobody may not want, right? So Osei, thank you so much. And to the viewers, thank you so much for stopping by today. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.